Aloha! How are you doing, Piccia?
I am very well. Can I actually hear me? Because earlier when we were chatting, my microphone, in fact,
You know,
was
it
quite
sounds
far
good to
from me.
me. No, very, very good. We're
Good.
here for another WP Builds UI UX show, but the star of the show ain't me. It's Piccia who knows all about UI and UX, which is somewhat handy.
It might help, yeah. But it's
Yeah,
not me, it's the websites
it is.
of
I
the
suppose
people
they
that we're
are.
going to look at.
Yeah, they
And
are the stars of the show. That's true. Good point.
yeah.
Can I just ask you a few questions? How on earth did you ever fall into this line of work? How did you get into being into sort of like graphic design and
Are you
websites and
saying we never it never came up?
yeah, not really. I mean, when I've talked to you in the past, I've got an impression that you went to the Courtauld Institute and you
I
did
did.
it. Yeah, which is actually part of the same university that I went to, but I don't know if we overlapped. But
University
I
of,
never
of London.
beyond there. I never quite got the story. So yeah, go on, just quickly.
So when I got back from the Courtauld, who for those who don't know, it's an art history institution, and I did a master's there, an MA, not but I did a BA in medieval art in Italy, and then
Huh?
art history, yeah, medieval art history, and then I went to the Courtauld and did an MA, master's in medieval art history. And when I got back, and I loved it, I loved the way they would teach. It was only, I couldn't believe it was like 7 of us in the course.
Yeah,
What? In Italy, it was like, I don't know how many. I mean, mine wasn't a big university, but it was unthinkable to have that kind of relationship with the tutor. It was like, she
yeah,
taught me how to write in English. I loved it. And had a wonderful year in London. It was the 90s in London.
yeah.
I won't go into details. So
But it was,
but I tell you what, the best thing was about, well, one of the great things about London in the 90s was that I used to cycle, and I had a really old Cambridge bike, like a 30-kilo bike, like really old. And no, there was no aggravation at all as a cyclist on the streets of London, like none. I don't remember one single angry interaction, zero. Anyway,
oh, yeah.
which London cyclists or cyclists in general will understand is wow. Anyway, I'm terribly digressing. Then I went back to Italy after that and set up, and my friends that I used to work in an art gallery with, and we used to make the catalogs with our in-house PC. We
Got
did.
it.
Said we are thinking of starting up an arts publishing company. Will you join us? And I said, hell yeah. And
Oh,
so because mostly it was about doing the editing. So I had, because in Italy, at least at that time, I don't know anymore if it's still the case, but any single like small museum or gallery that was having an exhibition, they would publish a catalog. Even
right.
if
That
you
was
were
the way it was
doing it
done.
in
Yeah,
your own living room,
yeah.
you'd have a catalog. So we had so much work. And I started, obviously, I was doing the editing at the beginning mostly. And then I started, it was like more and more about the design. And I designed my first entire book on a Macintosh Classic, which had, I mean, I think the screen is smaller than an iPad, but the resolution is like
Dreadful.
minimal resolution.
Yeah.
And also it was black and white. So the
Wow.
images, I remember, because then for the images, you would get them to a studio, to a scanning place. They would get them, you
Yeah.
get them scanned, they would get back to you in a hard drive, and then you would put them in there. But in Quark Express on the Mac Classic, they were like dots, basically. The images
Yeah.
were dots, because it was black and white screen anyway. Anyway, it was amazing. I
Well, there you
loved it.
go.
I had
Because
so much fun.
I did not know that bit of the story, so I definitely haven't asked you that before. That's super cool. That's
And
great.
then, so after a while, I stayed in Italy. I think another maybe 4 or 5 years, living in the middle of nowhere in the countryside, between the vineyards and the woods, and chopping logs all year round, and begging for it to rain, because I wasn't connected to the mains. I only had a big water system, And then when I went to London. So in London, where I had already lots of friends. In fact, I moved because all my friends were there. And then I started. I was also doing art catalogs and books for like National Gallery, Tate Gallery, British Council. It was good. I did. It was nice. It was really nice. And then, but then I started. Started feeling that books have limitations, and I really wanted to feel like a proper designer. I had huge imposter syndrome because I was like, well, first of all, you're not a designer. In the second place, if you are, you're only a book designer. But that's why I got like typography fixation and things like that. So I started freelancing in lots of agencies. So I got to do cool work. But then my background in the arts really served me a lot because mixed with the agency work, because then I started working with film. So I was at the BFI. It must have come up.
Yeah, that bit has come up, but none of the preamble before this has done.
The BFI is the British Film
Yeah, the
Institute.
British Film Institute. Yeah,
I
yeah.
have to say that you were telling me now that that the conversation we're having before we got on. Well, I have to say, at least I did watch films for a living for a significant chunk of time.
That's yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in light
So
of what we were
that's
talking about before, yeah,
it's a
that's right.
consolation for sure.
Touche is the word for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good. So that's my
that's your
sort of
potted
origin.
history. Oh, that's so interesting. I wish we'd have done that before. Anyway, we could literally talk about that all day, but we've managed to go
And
on
also,
about that.
we forget that in theory there's an audience. Maybe
That's right. Who
maybe
cares?
they want.
Who cares?
Like, we're just chatting, you and I. I mean,
It's
I
fine.
love it.
It's fine. It doesn't matter. People can watch this as they please from tomorrow onwards. But we are hopefully going to talk about some website that Piccia has had
We are,
sent
indeed,
to
we
her.
are.
I will mention how Piccia's received that. I mean, some of them have been sent directly to her, but if you've got a website that you are interested to have Piccia glance over on this show, then you can send it to. Well, if you go to wpbuilds.com/UI, let me say that again, wpbuilds.com/UI, there's a form there, and that form will enable you to put your website details in and give us a little bit of information about it. What are formerly known as dark patterns, which I now can't remember the actual new name for, what are they called?
Deceptive design.
There you go, deceptive design. So there's also a slot in there because we are trying to cover a little bit of that as well. So if you find something on the internet, and we'll be looking at a website, well, a Reddit thread covering a few of those bits and pieces later if there's time. Put some of those in as well. So that's wpbuilds.com/UI. If you want to make a comment, that would be lovely. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't get so many comments. But if you want to do that, drop in any questions into the chat. That's completely fine. And if you want to remain anonymous, that's also fine. But if you're on Facebook, they require an additional step. Only once. If you haven't cleared your cookies out since the last time you commented, you should be fine. But go to chat.restream.io/FB. The link will be above if you're watching this on Facebook. And that way you can de-anonymize yourself and we'll see your avatar and we'll get your name. Okie doke. Right. Is it time to share the screen and visit site 1 of today? How's that sound?
It is indeed.
Okay.
So
here we go.
Oh, look, we've got people dropping in. Hello, Adam. Hello, LinkedIn user that we don't know who it is. Thank you very much. So today, actually, there's quite a few things on the agenda. We've got, I think, 3 or 4 things on the agenda.
Yeah.
So we are going to slightly look at the watch. So this is the first website that we're going to look at, and the name. I need. So I forgot the name. Is it? I think it's Amanda. Yeah, Amanda Lucas. Amanda Lucas sent us this website, her website. So the first thing that I look at, as usual, I haven't looked at this before. I've just literally just put the link in. I haven't really thought about it or anything like that. So the first thing that I look at is there a call to action, and is the message clear about what your offering is? And I would have to say that for this, definitely there is. Strategic websites for smart businesses that want to grow. That's what she can do for you. She can give you a strategic website if you are a smart business that wants to grow. So I think that's quite nice phrasing. I'm wondering if she
Yeah.
does copy. I quite like that. Let's work together and hire me. So in terms of her messaging, perfect. Now, if I click on one thing that I always do as well is to click on the call to action to see what happens. Hire me, like to start a project. So I like this as well. The horrible, hated GDPR. Yeah, anyway, I won't accept them. I will say functional only, but I like that because anyway, why have to, hello? Sorry, I always say hello when people say hello. I
Yeah,
say hello
sorry, I'm
back
not paying attention to the comments. Hello, High Rise Digital, and hello,
because
Adam.
you are so blasé about all this, aren't you? Anyway, I'm probably gonna refuse. So just give me this because otherwise you have to go through so many steps. And in fact, according to European law now, it has to be as easy to reject as it is to accept. So
Can
well
I just
done.
make can I make an uninformed comment about what I just saw there? And I liked the fact that the cookie box there was just in a corner, as opposed to the full width of the site, which is the
Absolutely.
typical thing, isn't it? So it obfuscates the content, whereas you could still see all the content and happily interact with that little pop up. Yeah, that was good.
And we've got Barbara as well, and a Facebook user who's
That's
accusing
got
us of shit talking. And they
fairly
are right.
sure, fairly
They
sure
are
I know who
fairly
that
sure.
is.
But also, can we disagree? No, we agree. So anyway, back to Amanda. She deserves our full attention. So well done for that. I really like it. Now, if there's a online, there's definitely a talk done by me for WordPress London about the UX of forms. So let me have a look. I think this is good. So email, business name, services required. How prepared is your content? So, okay, that's really good. I think this is a good form. I tell you, because the point with the forms is that, as usual, you have to give your user as little to do as possible. So the forms that only have, tell me about yourself. Oh, God, don't ask me. I mean, she does ask here, but really it's up to you how much you wanna say. And because if I send a form, I don't want to waste too much time with it. Normally when they ask me to type, I just won't do it. So but there's she's asking for quite a bit of information that requires minimal input, just sort of. So back to the homepage. So one observation here: hire me. I mean, perfect. That's what she wants. She wants people to hire her. Well done, Amanda. But the thing is, because this is square, okay, it's not, to be fair, this is not reversed out. So, but because the button here doesn't look so much like a button, and in fact, there's no hover effect, the two things are too similar. So what you want to do, bearing in mind that the mantra always is don't make me think, then I would do two things. I would make the button look a little bit more interactive, which usually you can do just by a super subtle gradient. And I would also definitely give it a hover effect, which makes it more accessible. And I would say that in general, so for instance, this typeface, not very accessible because it's not easy to read, and someone who's dyslexic or has other cognitive or even visual issues will probably not be able to read it so easily. Having said that, I am going to now unchain the wave. No, it's not working. I wonder why.
Oh,
Somewhere, oh yeah, it
there
is.
you go. So this is
So
an accessibility tool built into your
yeah,
browser, isn't it? It's an extension, yeah.
by WebAIM. However, let me just say that this will only identify something like 30% maybe of actual issues. It's by no means perfect. Usually when you do accessibility testing, you have to do it manually by a human. It has to be done by a human because there's so much that it won't pick up. But it does pick up things like, for instance, I noticed immediately that here in the menu, the font is way too thin and way too small, just not going to work. And also there's let me inspect this. If you don't do it with CSS, but it's got text transform, it's good. But because what screen readers do is they sometimes, even if it's uppercase, then they will read it as an acronym. So,
Whoa.
which is,
So, okay. So, like in the case of learn, it would say LEARN if you had typed it in as capitals, as
yeah,
opposed to
or
using CSS uppercase. Huh.
yeah. Although it's not a given that it
Uh-huh.
will, even if it's CSSed properly, it's not a given that it won't. So you have to use it sparingly. But I mean, I'm thinking definitely in, I think navigation is one of those places where uppercase has its place, but way too small here, I would say. And the other thing is that there are quite a few contrast errors, which we can, hang on, details, very low contrast. So this gray is low contrast. And I would say, which is something that it wouldn't pick up on, that the font is way too thin, because even if it's almost big enough, I'd rather it were a bit bigger. Yeah, let's say it's big enough, but because it's so thin, it looks pretty, but it's so thin that someone that has vision issues will not see it. And there are literally billions of people. I mean, there's almost more people with some kind of vision issues than without. Almost.
Yeah,
I'm
I've got to
absolutely
say,
exaggerating, but
yeah, no, no, you're not actually, and I can totally identify on a personal level with that. In the last couple of years, things like that have started to get my goat. I used to be able to see things like that perfectly, and now I am struggling. And it's a case of sort of like leaning away or leaning into the monitor, or if it's my
yeah.
hand with the phone, I tend to sort of find myself trying to get the perfect distance to judge things or pinch and zoom. And I get that. I totally identify with that. So yeah, well pointed out.
But it's not just people who are getting older,
Mm,
Nathan. It's also young people. It's people with cognitive issues as well. It's not just vision issues.
great, great.
There's so much, and I'm actually really into it because at the moment I am nearly finished with the first module of my accessible typography course. And I should have given you a link, shouldn't I?
Oh, it's
I'm gonna
okay.
give you
Well,
a
we
link.
can do that towards the end if you want. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean that tells you how great at marketing I am. Really.
And
Another,
me.
oh, I say, and yeah, you're helping me a lot, aren't you? Great. Oh, I can do it later. Who cares? If you never sell any, it's all right. So, and then the other thing is that's very important is the structure, because what a screen reader does or gives you the opportunity to do when you get to a site is to list out the contents by heading. Therefore, you can, first of all, see the content in order of importance in hierarchy,
Mm-hmm.
but also you can decide what in there is of interest to you. So if you have more than one H1, that's not going to work. I mean, this is not bad, but let's work together clearly should not be a heading. It's just a strap line. It should be, if you want to style it, so let's work together is this one. It's not a heading because there's no sub to it. And then I think it should be usually a heading then has a piece of content to go with it.
Right.
So because
Right.
it has nothing here, I mean, it doesn't help me find out about anything else. Just if you see what I mean. So I'm not maybe explain. So for instance, in the list, you shouldn't style. Basically, this H3 here is used for styling, but in that case, you should create a class for your list and avoid using a hierarchy that semantically is not correct, because these are lists. This is a list. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
interesting, mate.
yeah. So that's something that is worth thinking about, because you always think, yeah, I don't have blind customers. Well, you probably do, but also it may be someone who's actually in the car and is using a screen reader. It's never people with disabilities, in fact. So here you're gonna guess what this
I was
is.
just about to say, Piccia, you're scrolling past something pretty obvious there. I know
I
what you're going to say.
definitely am not.
Yeah, you're going to talk about the alignment of all that text, aren't you?
I can't deselect for some reason. Yeah, so you see here is actually a really good example. It won't deselect. if it's my
Ew.
mouse, whatever. It's weird.
Oh, is it the wave tool? Oh no, you've switched that off. Oh, I don't
No,
know.
I switched that off. Anyway, never mind. So this is a very good example of why center text is not accessible, because apart from the fact that it looks messy to me, but all I can see here is a Christmas tree with a really
That's what
flat
I had.
topping.
That's what I had. That's fascinating. Yeah.
So I would recommend. So also, I completely understand why it feels like this should be centered, but at the same time, if you took the time to actually lay it out, you could have the heading much bigger here, because that's what is of interest to you, and then have your content here and your call to action maybe below here, much bigger, because this again is a small button with very, very thin typeface. So I would recommend that you do that, because you have really good copy, Amanda, like brilliant copy. So I don't know why it's selecting.
No, that's
So
peculiar, isn't it?
bizarre.
Hey, Piccia, can
I
I
don't
ask a
know.
question about that? Because
Please.
just go. Can you scroll back up to that section? I mean, it
See,
applies
this
to.
is it. This
That's a
is
button.
good. The
Yeah,
button is
yeah.
doing something. Still, the contrast here is completely wrong. That I bet my bottom dollar that if you use a contrast checker, this contrast is not working. But still, that's a good hover effect. Yeah, sorry, back up.
I was going to say with the text there that looked like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
What can you give me some guidance? What is the in order for the eye to scan left and scan right and not really have to go too far left and too far right? What's the sort of recommendations around that? Perhaps it's like
Oh,
words on
okay.
a
Yeah.
line or
Yeah. It's the number of characters on a line, and it's between. If I remember correctly, it's between 40 and 75, and obviously it depends on where you are, whether you are on a mobile
right.
or on desktop. But the long lines is another pet peeve of mine, because you've lost me. I just can't.
No.
But and I mean, in a way, you could argue that with center text people scan, but the thing is that someone who is dyslexic will have a terrible time of following the beginning of the next line.
Yeah.
And ADHD is another one, that where you need an anchor, you need a visual anchor, and especially blind people. Apparently, I'm not sure how, so don't quote me on this, but apparently even screen reader have a bit of a tougher time if it goes like this.
Huh. Okay.
But I'm
Yeah.
not sure where I read this one. So,
For some reason, in my head, I had it at about like it's not characters, but I have it in my head at about 12 words per line, 10 to 12 words per line. But I'm not
it
sure.
could be, it could
Yeah.
be. So I don't think these are terribly long lines, but
No.
they are they are just very difficult to read, and this is why you want them, because you want them to talk with you. So, and I'm going to make another point here, because let's talk, I bet, yeah, it goes to the same place. So there's something you need to be careful with, is how consistent your messaging is. So we have one form that we went to, and the first time we went to it
Yep.
via Hire
Yep.
Me, and the second time we went to it via Let's Talk. So which one is it? They're two very different things. Let's Talk is casual, we just talk. Hire Me is like, pay me to do work for you. So it's confusing, because I would think that Let's Talk takes me somewhere else.
Right.
So this is copy is a very important part of UX. And I know that, I don't know about you, Nathan, but when I was young at school, my teachers would recommend that I don't repeat myself, that
Yeah.
if I say something similar, I have to use different
A
words on the
different
web.
word. Yeah. Yeah. Not on the
Exactly.
web. No. Okay. Especially with
Not on the web.
buttons, call to actions, and so on.
Especially for
Yeah.
calls to action, you want to be as consistent as possible, because otherwise you confuse the user, and a confused user is a user that leaves.
Yeah.
So that's it. And again, I think that in the case of the way Amanda is using the script, because it's for small bits of copy, that's fine-ish, but in general, scripts are not terribly recommended. And here, so usually when text on an image, I usually say avoid it, but here I think it's dark enough, almost-ish. So I always say, okay, is it about the image or is it about the background? Because if it's about the image, then don't have any text on it, unless it's an image that's built, any photographer worth their salt will give you an image that you can write on. And this is definitely an image that you can write on. So this is done correctly because the important bit is in the corner. But in that case, I would even have made a gradient here because you almost want to see her face. Because otherwise, also there's plenty of studies that show that if an image is noise and it's not in any way useful, then people will just not even, it won't register. So there's effectively no point in making text illegible because it's on an image that people won't even look at. But in this case, it's her portrait. It's a lovely photo. People definitely want to see the face of the person they're going to work with. So I would definitely, in fact, take the overlay off and put a gradient on that's darker actually, and copy the type that's not so thin, really. So and then here again, see how it just looks messy with centered alignment. It looks really messy. It looks like, I understand why, especially in elements like this, you're tempted to just center everything, but I would recommend not doing that. Not doing that. And again, here, this, I believe, is center. Sorry, I don't know why it keeps
it's
selecting.
most peculiar, that, isn't it? Yeah.
Very strange.
We'll ignore it. It's fine.
So it looks like it's sort of floating by itself, not really connected to anything. So I would, again, recommend using alignment. I think if you're not a designer, just use alignment. If you don't have a design degree or something like that, or haven't worked as a designer and learned on the job, then just align. It's the one rule of design that is probably the most important. So when in doubt, align. Think what is this aligned to? And center is not alignment. So basically, as I always say, you have to ask yourself, is it a wedding invitation? Is it, Nathan?
No, it's not.
If it isn't, then not centering it is probably the wisest option, I would say. But anyway, otherwise, for so many, see here, so that's
that works
really nice.
doesn't it? Yeah,
that works. I mean, I would say that this is probably not a completely accessible combo. I'd have to use a contrast checker, but we probably don't have the time to use it. But anyway, contrastchecker.com, easy. Contrast. Everybody's gonna sing. Have you ever
seeing Piccia spell in real time?
No, but also my history, my browser.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I never use Chrome, so no risk. I only use Chrome when I've got to do these things so contrast checker I'm sure everybody knows it, but if you don't, you need to use it. And I have a feeling that here we were. It's borderline, this gray. Let's just look at it. Will I be able to see it? Where is it?
Yeah. Keep going out.
It should be.
Up. Be the div section, I would imagine. Nope, below. That one.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Here it is. So it should come out here, shouldn't it? No.
There you go.
Okay. But that's not helpful, is it?
It's a variable.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, but I got it.
So it's that on white. White on that, by the looks of it.
Oops. No, that's not correct, is it? Okay, so it doesn't want the...
There you go. All the Fs.
All the Fs.
Oh, it's a big fail.
It's a complete fail.
Yep.
So I would recommend checking that, because accessibility opens up your audience to 20% more people. That's huge. So I would just recommend doing it.
It was a nice contrast to the one above, though, where it was the darker image. The box around the text, I think, worked really well there. But the
Yeah. It's
contrast
really
within the
nice.
box wasn't right. But yeah, you still get the in a way, it might even be the same photo, just flipped without the gradient. There she is with doors and windows in the
Perfect.
background. Yeah, but you're able to see more of her because of the darkening. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. And it's a lovely photo, and the copy is really good. You won't, in the end, you won't just have a crystal clear website, blah blah blah. You have a platform that capitalizes on the reputation and positioning. Great,
I've never
brilliant,
seen an
brilliant copy, really
ellipsis.
good.
I've never seen an ellipsis at the beginning of a sentence.
Have you not?
No, that's
I
interesting. It
I have
normally
I
to me
have done
means
it.
like something else is about to come that you're not mentioning, at the end. So that's intriguing. What about
Good
let's
idea.
talk as a button? Is that a third iteration, or is that the same as we've had? We've had hire
No,
me.
I think we've had let's talk, so that's good.
More I presume that's a different one.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you
that's
go.
let's
Let's talk.
talk.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So again, let's move on
Okay.
because we have a few like 3 more items on the agenda.
Good grief.
Does
So
it
that
make you
was
feel important?
itchyfingersdesign.com. Where are we
Yeah.
going to next,
And
Picture?
thank you very much, Amanda,
Yeah.
for
Thank you.
submitting this.
Yeah.
So this is stepping store coaching.
Okay. Here we go. Okay,
Step
get
up your
it out the way.
conversations
Get
to
it out the way.
reach.
You know you want to.
It's not me, it's you, Nathan.
It's
No,
the
let's not do it. Let's not
no.
do it. We
Okay,
just
let's
leave
not.
it to our
Okay,
audience. Let's
leave
see
it
if
to yeah.
someone
Okay, all right.
leave it to our audience. So this is Leah, who I know from LinkedIn, and stepping store coaching. Step up your conversation to reach new heights. That's quite nice. That create a harmonious and prosperous life, one conversation at a time. Conversations that help you have a better relationship with yourself and your family and help you move forward in your creative work or business. So I love the photo, how lovely that photo is, and how cool your hair is, Leah. How beautiful. That is
Yes.
a beautiful photo.
Yeah.
Because so often, even, professional portraits are cheesy. The ones that you use for your work, and this one isn't. It's just really good. However, I would say that in terms, because UX is all copy, definitely. There's a bit too much going on here. It takes me a while before I actually understand what it is that you do, Leah. I mean, basically, you do conversation, you coach conversations, you coach hard conversations, you coach when there's a difficult topic to broach. Leah is the one that will teach you how to face it, how to take it on, and how to. I think she mediates. She does mediation as well. I quite like create a harmonious and prosperous life, one conversation at a time. But it doesn't immediately. Would you understand that's what she does, Nathan?
No,
Because I know Leah.
yeah, to be honest with you, even after your introduction there, where you explained what it is that she does, I'm still confused. But that's largely because I've never come across that industry before, where there's a
Yeah.
coach, a speaking coach. So that's me. I presume that if I was stumbling across this website, I would know more about it and would have a bit more context to bring to bear. So that's my ignorance more
But
than
the
anything else. But yeah, no, I know from the
no, no,
brief description, I
because
wouldn't know.
the point is that a website has really 5 seconds to grab your attention, and I would, as Hazard, it's actually less than that, fewer seconds than 5. So it takes a long time before I can actually understand. But the point is, though, Leah, if you're watching, or if you watch it again, that you, as far as I know, I think that this type of business is built on personal connection. So I
Right.
think that the website is important, but it's not an absolutely essential tool. I think that's a very
Right.
important point to make. However, I would definitely recommend having a so-called call to action further up, because this is a very, very big screen that I have. It's a very big window, and you want it much further up. So
Could I ask your opinion on what appears to me to be two logos? So we've got the logo, which isn't really a logo; it's more of a title at the top with a background image, and then we've got an image underneath the navigation. What do you think of? What do you make of that?
well, I would not recommend,
Hmm.
because it's it's overkill, but also the stepping stool. It takes me to the next thing I was going to say, which is there are way too many typefaces here, because we've got the one up here, which I believe may not be the same. It's very similar. I don't know. Maybe it is the same. No, it is probably the same. Sorry, I'm a fun nerd. Yeah, it is the same. So the up here, the banner up here, and the navigation have the same typeface, but this one in the logos is different, and
Yeah.
so is the one below, Coaching by Leah Zimmerman, which is virtually unreadable.
It's
I mean, the
very small.
contrast,
Yeah. Yeah.
the excuse me, I'm gonna have to drink.
That's okay. I'll do the same. We'll drink in unison. That was the best 5 seconds on a YouTube video ever.
Ever. So the contrast for the gold of Coaching by Leah Zimmerman is definitely too low, definitely. And then this one is probably, yeah, it's the same typeface, but here we have another typeface again that doesn't really, there's no need to have this different typeface, I would say. And this one, if I look at the S, unless it's the bold, it could be the bold of the same typeface, but I don't see them. So let me just go. Wait, so see, there are quite a few contrast errors. Yeah, see, this
Oh,
is,
yeah, that green is quite a thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's the green that has a contrast problem. And then again, let's see the structure. Yeah, there's lots of H1s.
Lots of H1s. You must only have
Yeah.
one H1.
You must. I know. I heard somewhere someone told me that there are situations where you can have more than one H1, but there should be. So basically, the H1, Leah, is the title of your page, and because this is your homepage, it should be stepping store coaching or step up. Actually, it shouldn't be step. It shouldn't be this. This
It
is
should
like your
be
logo.
create a harmonious and prosperous life, really, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should be. Or step up your conversations to reach new heights, maybe.
Yeah.
So, and definitely this should not be an age 2. So structure is so important. And when you start looking at it, you realize that there are so few websites that actually do it right. Never use headings for styling. You have to create the right styling. And again, so this is going to give a screen reader a really hard time, because there's too much. When there is too much that is important, then nothing is, as you well know. So then you always need alternative text. And why wouldn't you have alternative text? Does this image have alternative text? It's your own face. So alternative text, if there's anyone who doesn't know, so there's lots here. So the title, you really want to title your images correctly, and to put the alt text basically is what a screen reader reads when he reads your image. So, and also it's what Google uses to rank you. By the way, the whole headings as well, the hierarchic structure is super important for SEO as well. So why wouldn't you want for this photo to be found, Leah, when people look for Leah Zimmerman? LinkedIn is going to come up. I mean, obviously, probably always is, because it has so much more authority as a site. However, you've got your own beautiful face here, beautiful photo. Why wouldn't you take the opportunity to be found and for your own photo to come up? I think that's a really powerful point to make. And so these are all the things, so that's what, if you think about it, when people say, oh, accessibility expensive, no, because building a site with accessibility in mind, if you've done it correctly, you've already done lots of accessibility work is already done, because using it correct hierarchy structure is something that should be done anyway. It's and same goes for alt text or for contrast. That's simply good web design. The text in the, again, super tiny font. I have to squint to see it. And in terms of the call to action, click to save your spot is a call to action. I'm gonna see what happens. Again, there's no hover effect. and they really should be. So it takes me straight to a masterclass, reserve your
Reserve
seat,
your seat.
register.
Yep.
It doesn't tell me. So the masterclass is done with a different piece of software. So probably she
Yeah.
can't use the same typefaces. This, again, the contrast here is not accessible at all. I bet there's quite a few people that look at it and go, I can't read it. But I don't know whether it is it going to cost me money. I do not know
Yeah.
what. So I would recommend saying what, because it's a masterclass. So I don't know. It's created with MailerLite. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that
So,
that is a very minimal landing page, isn't it, for a registration for an event? You know,
but
there's
that
no.
I'm fine with that. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
actually quite good.
yeah.
But but I do mind that I don't know whether it's free or not. And why
Right.
would I give you my? And also another point to make is that unless you're sending, which is what I'm guessing you're doing, Leah, that you're giving this link to people that know you already, but people that don't know you are not going to sign up. They're going to click on save your spot because you asked them to, and because it's it's the only call to action on the page, so they're going to click on it probably. But then I don't know if people don't know you, if whether they're going to click on it. So, and then I would say for the design in general, this kind of boxed layout looks very dated, to be completely
I
honest.
was going to draw attention to that. I did wonder what you had what your thinking was about that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then also the testimony, look, yeah, even this. I mean, this is so small and the contrast is just not enough. Because again, sometimes you go use a contrast checker and it says that the contrast is enough, and then I like, yeah, but I can't read it anyway. So it's not, it's
It's not always
always,
perfect.
it's
Yeah.
not. And anyway, it has to be said that about being compliant with legal requirements doesn't mean that you are accessible, because it doesn't actually cover everything. So I would have the testimonials on the homepage, definitely, and make them clearer. See how much there is going on here. You want the testimonial to be super easy to find and super immediately scannable. Here I have to go customer testimonials. Valerie posted on with all these, bad contrast here with the green, but it takes me way too long. And actually, then it's really small. Have it super big on the homepage.
It's just some kind of. I mean, I'm guessing it's a WordPress archive, so
It is
it's
a
probably not
WordPress
the right
archive.
purpose for an
No,
archive. The testimonial. Well,
again,
certainly not with all the metadata switched on. Anyway.
exactly. So this is a quick overview because we've got other items on the
Okay.
agenda,
So first
haven't
of all,
we?
thank you
So
for Leah. That was
thank you,
nice of
Leah,
you
very
to send
much.
that through.
I hope it was helpful. Again, I think the copy is really good, but I think you need to decide and have a much clearer message and call to action, so that someone who has no idea and finds your site by chance gets it
Yeah.
immediately.
Okay,
So
so speaking of copy and typeface and all of that kind of stuff, just quickly let's just do the bit that I didn't know that you wanted to do, but let's do it. You've got a course you mentioned earlier.
I don't really particularly want to do it, but I think it would be crazy to not
Yeah, why
let
not?
people
You're on the
know that
you're
I've
here.
got.
Why not? Yeah.
It's insane, isn't it? That I can't.
Have you
So
got a URL that you can pull up
yeah,
or
I'm digging it out
okay? And is this
because
something that you're yet to launch, or it has launched, or you're
it's
almost
coming.
finished?
You can buy it now.
Oh,
The first module is coming out end of the week. Here it is.
are you sending it through on the? Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So, and actually, so I could do this, couldn't I?
Yeah, you pop it on the screen
why
and I'll
not?
put the URL there. There we go. Add. There we go.
There you go.
Perfect.
So simply by making sure, because let's not forget, it's like 95% of the web is probably still typography. So, and you can expand your audience by as much as 25%, because that's how many people would benefit. because
I,
accessibility is for everyone.
It's fascinating though,
Right.
looking at your website, and I was just thinking to myself, I wonder if Piccia eats her own dog food. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, yep, left aligned, the button's clear, it's got an obvious call to action, the testimonials are easy,
I
all left
hear, there you
aligned. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
go.
yeah.
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, dark background is borderline, but you got a risk in life.
And you also
Anyway,
underlined all your links as well, which I noticed as well, which is
of course. And also, if the links go out, you need use area. You do where it is. Anyway, never mind. Let's move on. So,
no, hold
what's
on.
with it? There are two.
Designforconversions.com/accessible typography course. Right? Everybody
Perfect.
lock that
Thank
in
you
and go and
very
check them out.
much.
Yeah,
Cool.
you're welcome.
Okay, so uh, so there's two things we want to talk about. One is one. Let's talk about the other one. What happens when you enroll? That's a good question, Neil. So when you enroll now, you get immediate access to a short typography course for your instant gratification, and then on Friday, and that's me hoping nothing terrible happens, and I don't. But you get the first module. That's what happens. Very good question. So, and we wanted to talk about two more things. One is deceptive design, because that's what we like to talk about. And I found this awesome Reddit.
Oh, this is so
subreddit
good.
when assholes design things.
Let me
I
just see
meant,
if I can
you
find
meant
the
press the
URL for that.
button.
Is
When you
it this
press the
one?
button, you get to the form where you can enroll. This is the one. And I actually there's a few that I loved. So hang on.
Oh no, that one of the subway was great. So this is a Reddit thread. So it's reddit.com/r/asshole design /best. And it's just is this like can anybody contribute to this thread? I don't use Reddit.
I'm
Never
sure.
ever have. Could
I'm
I
sure.
put things
I
in
mean,
here
there's
if I wish to?
2.8 million members.
Oh, okay. So it's yeah. So it's people who've spotted things out in the wild, either on the internet or in the real world, where the design is just asinine, basically.
Yeah. And
Here's a
because
perfect
nothing comes,
example.
I love the description, because nothing comes before profit, especially not the consumer. So love it.
Isn't it great? And so what
So
we're
look at
looking at
that.
is a bus stop where basically like 80% of the seats have been stripped out so that they can put a big ad in it. Honestly, the ad would be just as effective if you'd had all the seats in it. Just ridiculous. That's brilliant.
Absolutely ridiculous.
There were so many of them. I
There
wasted a
was
good
another
20
one. Hang on,
minutes
there's
on this earlier.
so many. Hang
Yeah.
on.
I mean, there's just things like, forms which you should be able to submit, but the accept button looks like a decline button, or the decline button looks like an accept column and stuff like that. It's brilliant.
And also, one thing that is another pet peeve, and that Amanda does so well, when your cookies notice, it is illegal for them to make disabling cookies difficult. It is, and Google got a huge fine. Not that they, and Facebook, they got a huge fine because there were so many steps to rejecting, and there shouldn't be. It's exactly the same number of steps for accepting or rejecting, and this is just wrong. There is so much here.
Yeah, it's really good to sort of just wander through this thread. It's still on the screen. Reddit.com/r/asshole design /best. And there's just hundreds and hundreds of things. Some of them, like I couldn't quite work out what they had a problem with, but some of them it was so obvious. Like, oh, this is just designed to annoy people. So it seems to be the perfect, most curated thread of things.
So this is an example of bad copy. Uber Eats, they're on their way. Your driver's delivered so you can stay dry. It's not actually raining. They're just guilt tripping you. Anyway, so what I want to talk about now, and it's about me.
Yeah, do it.
So why is it my timeline and not the tweet? Because the tweet actually explains it. So yesterday, and I'm wondering whether they still have the same photo. That'd be interesting. So yesterday, where is it? It's not
Oh,
the reply, it's a tweet. Okay, here.
there we go.
So yesterday I was looking at flights to London, and I was like feeling like I was in a really familiar place. I was like, oh, why am I feeling this? And I looked at the image and said, oh my God, I took this. So this is the image. This is the image, and I took it. And you may think this was an easy image to take. It wasn't. There's a flash because otherwise the lavender wouldn't be exposed. So I used it when it was daytime. I used the flash. I lugged all my gear down to St. Paul's, and I had to hide in the lavender bushes. If you think it's not embarrassing, it is. It's just in front of St. Paul's where people are going, what is she doing? Why is that woman there in the bushes? I don't get it. So, but I took, and I stayed long enough to be able to take this photo.
That's a beauty.
Where, so if you think this is an easy photo to take, no, it ain't.
What is that stripe, by the way? What was that? Was that just like an overexposed, like car?
It's
headlight
light. Yeah, it was a bus. But because it's not very dark, then
yeah,
I know it's a matter of how long. And it takes some skill.
yeah.
And
Okay, so
even if I say so myself, but so
yeah,
I
but
saw this
you
and I was
spied
like,
your own photo on a BA or wherever it is website, right? Okay,
yeah, and
carry on the
it was
story.
actually, and I checked. I wasn't even using a VPN, so I don't know why it thought I was in the US, because usually I do use it with VPN. I checked, I wasn't VPNing it, and it was the homepage. I thought maybe this has come up because I looked for a London flight, but it didn't. It was the homepage. Mind you, didn't try an incognito window. Anyway, they had my photo. It's there. And then, so I thought, that is cool. I loved it. I just thought this is really great, because I used to have, I still have photos on Shutterstock, and I used to upload a lot. And then I stopped years ago. I stopped maybe 2013. I stopped uploading, which is a shame because I sort of then also stopped taking photos. But I stopped because, and you'll understand why I stopped in a minute, because, so this is a photo in Shutterstock. Look. So Shutterstock customers love this asset. High usage, Piccia Neri. Hurrah. And
That's
then
your
where is
photo
it?
for sure.
So that's my photo for sure. That's not in doubt. But so I made 10 cents from it. I checked because, and where is the tweet that has I don't understand Twitter.
No,
Okay,
I don't.
here.
Don't ask me.
So I
No.
checked because what I thought, having worked for big organizations, I know what they do. So they will, there'll be someone telling you, okay, find as many, because these sites work with subscriptions, which I'm sure everybody knows.
Yep.
So they've said, okay, download as many photos of samples as you can, and then they'll pick one to use. So they could have had a library. This could have been from 5 years ago. But actually, out of curiosity, I went through. And if anybody knows London, they know that Chiswick is where BA is. It's, down the Heathrow way. And it was sold on the 8th of July. And I made 10 cents from it. But apart from that, I thought, okay, I know that's fine. That's what it costs, but not for British Airways, though, because with that volume of visits, of traffic, I am nearly sure they should have got a different license. The thing is that if you're a contributor, it's terribly difficult to find out about these things, and it's terribly difficult to have someone to answer to your question. People won't, there's a chat box for customers, but not for contributors. So I sent an email to Shutterstock saying, via the channel that I should use, saying, can you just let me know whether that's the correct usage for their traffic? And I tweeted at British Airways in the original tweet, but I'm going to try and tweet at them directly, because I have a feeling that it didn't cover the actual usage. So,
So
which would
it
be
is.
fun, would be interesting, but
Yeah, you
yeah,
have to see how this story develops over time. It's an ongoing thing, but essentially, you feel that you've uploaded an image, they have downloaded it legally, but
yeah,
whether or not they've paid the correct amount based upon usage is the
yeah.
question. It may be that they've downloaded it and checked a box to say it will go on this type of website or this, as opposed to a high volume business website or something like that. I see.
Yeah, that's the question. But also, I think it's a good opportunity to bring to the attention of all of you that buy images on stock sites how much of a bloody ripoff it is for artists. Because if I tell you the amount of equipment that I had to lug down in order to do that photo and how much the equipment cost me, and for me to then get 10 flipping cents, do you know
How,
what I mean?
I
And
wonder. I wonder if I was to
Shutterstock.
go onto the Shutterstock website and try to buy it. I wonder how much BA paid for it.
No,
Or
that's what BA paid for it. Oh no,
so
it's not. Oh, it's not.
Shutterstock.
No, sorry, it's not. It's not. It's not. A BA probably has a subscription. Usually with Shutterstock, you can pay. I think it's like, I don't know, something like 150 quid for a 250 images in a month, something like that.
Got it.
So, however, in theory, it's like I think $1 an image or something like that. So it's based on big volumes. So if you're a photographer that uploads a lot and you just churn photos out, and I mean, before 2008, there were people that were making good money because there was lots of downloads. So you could actually, and I remember that before I stopped, I think that with a modest portfolio, because if you have like 2,000 photos online, it's not a big portfolio. I was maybe making 600 pounds a month.
That's
Um,
pretty interesting. Yeah.
yeah, but when you then start looking at how much you're making and how much Shutterstock is
Yeah.
making, you
Yeah.
just go, it's not worth it. And I'd rather sell an image once, because it completely devalues your image, your efforts, your expertise, your how much it takes to even learn to take an image like that, and to actually have the goal of crawling in the bushes at St. Paul's. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then you have to have a flash. Do you know how difficult it is to learn to use a flash on a camera? How heavy? How well? Obviously, this was on a tripod, but what about the tripod? How much the tripod weighs, and different types of tripod for whether. How heavy your camera is, what use you're going to make of it, So that's, I want all of you to who use
This is your
images
soapbox moment, isn't it? You're
it's my
standing firmly on the
soapbox moment,
soapbox and
because
railing against Shutterstock. Yeah.
but it's completely within our remit of
Yep.
uh talking about web design. Really, it's WP builds. So
It feels a
I
bit
yeah,
like the way that music artists feel given Spotify.
but they are completely right. Spotify are evil. Don't want to get me started. I
Okay,
have
I'm
a
not.
Spotify.
I didn't say
I
that
have a
word. Okay.
Spotify story.
Rewind.
I
Rewind.
have a Spotify story.
Okay. But yes, it's an interesting debate for sure. And it does feel, like 10 cents doesn't seem like a lot, especially given the significance of where they've put it. If it had been a tiny image tucked away on a page within a page within a page, you can sort of feel like there's a different importance to that. But if they've put it on one of their big landing pages where you actually go and book the flights, it does feel as if there's a debate to be had there about the payment that would be received given the amount of traffic. But I don't know how that model would work.
So no, but there is. I mean, there is another license that they probably should have got. But
Well, we
if
will.
there's
This
also
story
the
will unfold,
chance,
I'm sure. Yeah, you'll get.
there's also the chance that there's also a chance that that is fine, which is that just I rest my case and just say that. Well, that's what basically that is why I stopped uploading, because I was like,
Yeah,
no, I
yeah.
don't.
You
I'm
decided it was
worth more.
a bit
However,
exploitative.
yeah, just vaguely. Anyway, we're on the top of the hour, Nathan.
Okay. Well, shall we call it a day there? Yeah.
Yeah, on my rant. I managed to do my rant. I was like,
Oh no, that's good. Quick reminder.
soapbox.
Quick reminder though, if you if like Like Neil, you want some more information about Piccia's course, all about typography. You saw it on the screen. You heard it here first. Designforconversions.com/accessible typography course, with all of those words separated by hyphens.
I should
So
probably stop sharing.
designforconversions.com/accessible typography course. Go check it out. See what Piccia can do for you. First module dropping on Friday, by the sounds of it. So yeah, thank you, Piccia. That was interesting and also quite fun to get a rant in. Oh, and there we go.
Never too far from a rant with
No,
me.
no, no. It's always good. It's always good. We'll be back next month, I guess. And if you fancy submitting your site so that Piccia can do what you saw her do to other people's sites today, go here. wpbuilds.com/UI. Fill out the form. Let us know what your website is, and give us some information about what is it. It's not dark patterns. It's devilish design, dastardly design, something.
Deceptive design.
I prefer dastardly. Dastardly design. Okay, that's it.
I love it.
We're done. We'll see you next month, Piccia. Take it easy.
Thank you all. Bye
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.